Welcome to another episode of the Reboot Chronicles, a no-holds-barred forum with global leaders, authors, entrepreneurs, and CEOs about how organizations stay focused on growth and innovation in unprecedented times. I'm your host, Dean DeBiase, coming to you live from Reviv's North American headquarters in Chicago, and we would like to thank you for joining us from around the globe today. I'd like to welcome Chris Rondeau, the CEO of Planet Fitness, to the Reboot Chronicles. Founded in 1990s Step Aerobics era, anybody remember that? Planet Fitness has seen its fair share of reboots. They went public in 2015, and today the billion-dollar company is one of the largest, fastest-growing fitness brands with 18 million members who work out at over 2,400 locations around the world. Under Chris's leadership, Planet Fitness has been rebooted and grown into an award-winning market leader that many of you have experienced firsthand, of course. What I like most about this group is 90% of the locations are owned and operated by entrepreneurs, people just like you, independent businessmen and women, which is fantastic. And the health and fitness club market, the last I checked, is projected to be about a $136 billion market by 2028. So I have a feeling Chris is just getting started. We'll dig into that, of course. Chris, it's great to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm just fascinated by all the reboots the sector has gone through. We'll get into all that, but I'm more interested in your personal story. I mean, you started at the front desk of this company back in 1993. That I can't even imagine. I can't visualize that calendar that far back. And then 20 years later, you became the CEO. And I just bet everybody's wondering, what was that journey like for you personally?
Yeah, it was really, really American dream, all in one for sure from then to now. We worked at the front desk, it was one store we had, me and my two partners became partners. They started the gym a year earlier, and I was just a member there at that point, believe it or not. I like to work out, so why wouldn't I want to work in a gym? It's kind of how it started. I was 20 years old and going to University of New Hampshire at the time. But it was a passion. I loved it, right? And started off working the front desk, then became a trainer at the club, then became a manager at the club over time. I started off making $6.40 an hour. That's kind of what my going rate was, and I had left working for my father's truck.
That was a lot back then. I think it was minimum wage.
Yeah, I was actually working for my dad for $6 an hour at his pharmacy, and that's how he got me to come over to the owner of the gym. Gave me 40 cents more, so it made me make the jump.
So you were a customer first. That's even a better story.
Yeah, the customer first, and then so I worked my way up, became a manager. Then we built a couple more stores, became a regional manager throughout the 90s, and just built the business, But Dean, when we first started off, we were a typical gym, like you would assume, like a Gold's Gym, for example. We had all the heavy weights, the dumbbells. Our rates weren't $10 a month when we first started. We were $35 a month back then.
Yeah,
and also too, think about early 90s. EFT, the monthly dues for your memberships. I mean, recurring billing was so new back then. Like today, you get Netflix and Spotify. People are very accustomed to it. Trying to get somebody to give you their credit card information 30 years ago was that was a chore.
You guys were cutting edge, man. That was unheard of. It is amazing how much has changed in the industry. But before we jump into that, seriously, what was it like when I know you just kind of, for you, it probably didn't seem like much. You just kept building and getting bigger and bigger. And then one day you wake up, you go into work and everyone's looking at you. You're the CEO. What was that? What was that empty stomach day feeling like?
Yeah, I'd say it was, when it was me and my two original partners, we built it up to, figure it took us almost 10 years to get to 5 stores.
Wow.
And then I'd been there for 10 years. The two original founders gave me 30% equity in the company, sweat equity.
Generous.
Yeah. And I was kind of more the operations guy. I kind of came up with the operations manuals, and what we do is so high volume compared to the rest of the industry, right? We're $10 a month. I mean, we make a lot of volume. Our stores have, 4 or 5 times the members of a lot of other gyms, right? So we had to really figure out how to streamline things and how to make the brand consistent for customer experience with that many people come to the door every day. So, and the other two partners, one was more the CFO, one was more the marketing guy. And we kind of built the business together. We launched franchising in 2003, and over the next 9 years, we've got to 500 stores. So you could tell the franchising really just took off so fast, right? But what it was, honestly, is me. We had developed this great business in New Hampshire, which is very rural, right? I mean, our first 4 towns were 28,000 people. There's no one. It's very, very rural. So we had to get really good at marketing and how to get people off the couch, which is the $10 price point in the judgment-free zone. That really is an atmosphere that's conducive to casual and first-time gym people, right? And today, 80% of the U.S. population doesn't have a gym membership, so we're trying to get them off the couch.
Right.
That's kind of how I look at my competition. Is the couch. It's the couch. It's Chile's restaurants and it's AMC theater. That's my competition. Right?
Yeah. And nowadays it's this.
Yeah,
Those of
right.
you not on YouTube, I'm holding up my big fat cell phone and
or TikTok or whatever. So then,
people feel like they've worked out because they participated in something. There's a psychological. How are you getting kids off the couch? I noticed there's many sets of Gen XYZs out there. Some of them are just they grew up in sports and therefore they stayed active. But there's a whole generation there that it's not a thing.
No, it's really interesting, and we really started to see with the millennial population about 10 years ago, and their propensity to work out. And what we've seen over 30 years now is that every younger generation, every newer generation, their propensity to work out in gyms is bigger than the previous generation. We saw it with Gen X to Boomers. We saw it with millennials to Gen X generation, and Gen Zs was seeing the exact same thing. So it's interesting because I have a 16-year-old son, and to your phone comment, you think they're on the phone nonstop, and believe it or not, the Gen Zs are joining better now than the millennials were at that time.
Yeah.
And then a little bit to your point to get them off the couch, we have this program we launched in 2019, and then reintroduced it last year again after COVID, and then again this year. It just ended a couple of days ago, but we call it High School Summer Pass. And believe it or not, what we do all summer long, thankfully, in some ways, our gyms get quieter in the summer than they do in New Year's resolution time, right? Weather's nice outside, some of the member traffic slows down. So what we do, this is the third time we've done it now, is we opened our doors for free, no strings attached to every high school age teen in the entire country.
Nice.
And they work out all summer long. No strings attached, literally. They come in, they work out. We just logged our over 3 million joins for this summer. So 3 million joins, teens got off the couch. To put that in perspective, that's almost 14% of every high school age teen got off the couch. 14%. Yep. It's crazy. So it's great. Introduce them to the brand loyalty. We started to build it in the earlier years in their life, and hopefully we change them and stick with a good habit.
Yeah, that's awesome. Smart. The I'm not sure where to go with this one next, but I guess a couple things I want to talk about. What's the biggest challenge right now facing the industry? And I ask that in retrospect, those of you listening that have been around since last century, this country at least has gone through so many fads. Mm-hmm. I mentioned, the things like jazzercise and aerobics and
Billy Blanks.
Thigh Master, Tybo. It's like next. Right now everybody's, my girlfriend's like hooked on Orange Theory and so I'm making a little bit fun of it, but it's also a great industry to take advantage of because so many clubs have come and gone and many have survived. And, so the first part of the question is, that's the retrospect, is how many reboots have you been through? Because it wasn't all purple. I know that. It was the big gyms that people like me are intimidated with because there's the big guys in there and making me look bad. You look like you're still working out hardcore, by the way. Those of you that can't see him, he's looking good.
That's true.
Yeah, so
try to keep young.
A loaded question, but good luck.
Yeah, right. Thank you. It's you make a very good point with this industry, and it's one thing I'd say that we have been super good at is being disciplined to our business and our customer, because there is a lot of fads, and it's hard you have to really wait to see which ones really stick, right? And to your point, you just rattled off a bunch of them, right? Then you got, Richard Simmons and you go Jane Fonda all the way back, right? And then you got P90X with the DVDs you do at home, right? And then real time, during COVID, everybody thought Peloton was going to rule the world, and everybody in the world was going to be riding the bike in their kitchen, and we saw it happen there, So
crash and burn.
Yeah, we were just very, very disciplined on seeing which trends really had go time that were going to stick around, and not jump on the bandwagon every time something came up. So we were just really, really good. And at the end of the day, it's nuts and bolts. Treadmills are always king at the end of the day. I always have a funny saying in a lot of ways. It's like, you just got to move. And there's a million different types of bicep machines that come out every year, and your arm bends one way. It doesn't change. It never has. So it's like, you're just going to do it. So it's like people
You got to pedal.
yeah, there's no easy way out, and there's no there's no like next quick fix, and everybody kind of chases it. CrossFit, then Orange Theory, then F45, and now that one's crumbling, and so it's same discipline, and But what happens, I think, a lot of times is with people who are serious avid exercisers, Dean, they work out a lot, right? They're working out 6-7 days a week sometimes, right? So they get bored so
I have no idea what that's like.
yeah, they get bored so quick. They got to look for the new drug, right? They got to find something new and fun because they get bored.
Yeah.
The average customers, if you're working out 3 times a week, you're not going to get bored, but you're working out and you're going to get results, and you can do that forever, and you can hopefully do that without injury, right? You work out 7 days a week at some of these other hardcore gyms. I mean, it's like crash dieting. You can't. It's not a lifestyle. You can't do it forever, right?
That's actually a perfect metaphor. I mean, dieting trends are, I don't know which one's worse, but they're, can you track those two together? Fitness and diet? You should be, because that's all your doctor talks about, fitness and diet. But the diet trends, are they in the same cycle?
I don't like people bring up Ozempic all the time these days. It's like that's going to take the gyms away from it. I don't look at it like that, because I think it's, dieting trends are also, I could look at it this way. You don't take a protein powder unless you're working out, right? You don't take supplements unless you exercise. And it's the same thing. Like, and if you take supplements, then you probably will exercise. So they're kind of two in the same. If you take, most people, if you take care of your eating and you eat really healthy, chances are you probably work out too, or you're active in some fashion. So I do think they follow each other. I don't think it's competition though.
No, I was just talking about more of a holistic health. We do a lot about health, beauty, and wellness, and how that's all coming together, and everything from what you put in your body to what you put on your skin and what you do with your body. And I always tell people, I'm like, well, maybe you should just walk to the health club, and that's like a big bonus there too. We end up in this country, there's a lot of driving going on.
But I think there's a lot of self-care there, right? That's come around.
Self-care is a good one, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that
umbrella.
Yeah, and that also includes mental health, which is a real big thing these days, especially with the younger generations. So, and exercise is good for all of that stuff. So, and we've seen coming out of COVID that we believe people are paying attention more to their health going forward.
Yes,
people are canceling less and they're working out more than they did pre-COVID. So, unfortunately, it took that for people to realize that they knew they heard it, they just really didn't pay attention to it. Right? Everybody knows they shouldn't smoke, but maybe it takes a scare for people to stop. So I think people are more health conscious now going forward than they were prior.
I wonder if they ever had smoking in health clubs. I mean, we had it on airlines and everywhere else.
I do remember in the 90s, there was big ashtrays at the front door before you walked in, because they were their butts all over the ground.
So how do you stay competitive? You're not alone out there. I mentioned Orange. There's a bunch of others.
Mm-hmm.
Some have come and gone, but some are pretty well backed right now financially.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely, 25% of the industry permanently closed through COVID. So about 10,000 gyms permanently closed.
Whoa.
So there's less competition out there, but the ones that made it, like us, are better off now, in that sense. And back to the trends we just talked about, is people are working out more and they're more apt to pay attention to health. So that's really good. But, really, we look at Orange Theory, and I think I talked to the CEO quite a bit. He's a really great guy. He's a really great model. And you got
he's sharp, very sharp.
You got the different brands out there, and you got the CrossFits, and you got the F45s, and you go down the list. Core Power Yoga, you go down the list. But if you think about most of these gyms out there, I always say they're catering to the fit person getting fitter, as opposed to catering to the person on the couch. Whether it's they're paying $150 a month. Orange Theory is a great workout, but it's hard. I mean, for your first time exercising, you're probably not going to do an Orange Theory class, or a CrossFit.
I flamed out pretty quick on that one.
It's tough. I mean, it's a good workout, but it's
I was like, you want me to do what next? No. Where's the water bar?
Where's the bubbler? But our members, almost 40% of our joins never gone to a gym in their entire life. So we're truly their first experience with fitness.
Oh, yeah. So you've got them on the tractor beam with the $10 price point, and then you upgrade them. It's like a cable TV model.
And then you get and in the atmosphere, the judgment free. Like, our dumbbells stop at 75 pounds. We don't have the giant Olympic benches and power racks and stuff like that. So our equipment is really what's conducive of a casual first timer, not an Olympic athlete.
Which is the mass market. Yeah. So now I see how you've rebooted it. That actually made a lot of sense. Do you see yourself going more into the health and wellness side. So for instance, I noticed you don't call them locations, you call them stores. Is that for a reason? You want to be selling more to these people, upsell, cross sell?
No, I just kind of, I think it's because we're bricks and mortar. It's kind of always referred to them as stores.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I
Yeah,
mean,
retailers call them doors. I've never figured that out.
yeah. So I don't know. I don't, I never say never, right? But I think there's still much more bandwidth and runway here for the current model without complicating it. So
Yeah,
I think
I just see people in that environment wanting more supplements, shakes, high energy drinks, whatever, nutrition, and like a liquid IV, for instance. I think
I'd probably say more partnerships.
Yeah.
Go to somebody who is good at it and is focused. That's all they do, as opposed to trying to be an expert in IVs or expert in making a Smoothie King drink when I'm in the gym business. But partnerships, sure. And we've started a lot of partnerships within our app now where if you're a member of Planet Fitness, kind of like the AAA model, if you're a member of Planet Fitness, you get discounts at certain things. Discounts at Nike, discounts at Blue Apron, discounts at Crocs for all things. So I think probably more partnerships with how we probably would offer benefits to our members in that sense, which would add more value for being a member.
No, that's where I was going. Reboot Chronicles, we're a big fan of what I teach at Kellogg, which is the whole build, buy, borrow model. So the partnering side is where a lot of growth is. And some companies are good at it, some are not so good, but you've got such a strategic advantage, both online and in store. And just back to the in-house thing, the in-home boom that went on.
Mm-hmm.
How has that changed the industry? Did it help you, though? Did it bring more awareness of the casual person that then eventually said, maybe I'll come in and get social or something?
Believe it or not, I think back when Peloton's heyday, when they were advertising a lot, I think that was generally just helps build awareness to health and wellness. So I think, I think we benefit from that too, where somebody's like, I should really probably do something. And if they saw their commercial, maybe not mine, they got aspirational. And do I want to spend $2,000 on a bike, or do I want to pay $10 a month for a membership and have 100 bikes? Right. So I think it's, I think competition's good. I think when they advertise, it just builds awareness amongst everybody else. But, at the end of the day, kind of like we talked about earlier, home fitness has been around since Jane Fonda and Richard Simmons. And if it was going to work, it would have worked before. Right. I think
most people, well, many of you don't remember Jane Fonda's, but yeah, I know a lot of people who bought the video just to watch Jane Fonda. They didn't necessarily work out. But you bring up a good point. The in-home, let's just call it any type of health and wellness.
Sure.
It's about buying stuff. And people it's like an accumulation game. It's like, I got into that years ago. If you have space, it's like, I'm going to get that and this. And like, how often have you used that cross thing? I'm like, I haven't really.
You're exactly right. I mean, it's one of those things. First, do you have room in your house? Do you really want to be doing this in your kitchen when your dog is, your kids are pulling on you because they want their Lucky Charms, or your living room and your dog is nipping at your heels while you're on the bike? I mean, it's like, who has their own basement, or who has their spare bedroom that they don't use? I mean, it's first you got space, then you got money, and then the other side, there's so many more things to do around the house, chore wise. I think at times that you can be easily distracted. Now you go to the gym, you can't do your laundry, you do your exercising. So I think getting out. I tell you, I have a great home gym, as you can probably imagine, and I still go to my local Planet more than I do use my downstairs gym, only when I have my son home. Otherwise, I just 5 o'clock in my morning in my basement's not very energizing.
Did you do Undercover Boss?
No. They've asked a lot.
You should do that. You might grow a beard or something, but go in and. So, what is the next big trend? What do you think's happening now? Either in diet or health and wellness, or not necessarily always working out.
I'd say a change in exercise regimens. Weights are coming back. Functional training is big. Cardio isn't as big as it used to be. Although important, but they're doing more cross training. They're doing cardio in conjunction with, believe it or not, the dumbbells and kettlebells. And people of all ages, in both genders, all genders, it's that's definitely a trend. If you go back 15 years ago, I mean, it was just, we couldn't put enough cardio in the clubs. We'd have upwards of 140, 150 pieces of cardio, and it still wasn't enough sometimes.
Yeah, the treadmill, the rows of treadmills a bit intimidating.
It would go forever. Where nowadays, we're putting a little less cardio in and designate that space to more weight and functional training areas. So that's definitely a change that is stuck.
I'm surprised there hasn't been any growth and innovation in, or just true invention in equipment, things that are just more in tune with the human body. And for instance, when elliptical came out, it was like, wow, this is non-impact. But I haven't seen much since
that's
then.
That's funny you bring it up. That's probably the last big innovation cardio, and that was in like late '90s with Precor came out with the Arc, and then came out with the Precor came with the elliptical.
I bought one. I had a professional one, and I couldn't go that fast on it, but it was just good for the body. It was in sync. I felt like a Neanderthal running. It was like it was actually moving with you instead of banging. But
the other big thing that's probably come back, which you probably remember seeing them, 30, 25 years ago, is the step mills, which is the revolving steps. Kind of like
yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, Steermaster made them. They virtually invented them back in the early 90s. Then they kind of went away, and they went through financial trouble, and then the patents got taken away. And now all the manufacturers make those. But we were starting off putting 2 in a club, and now we're probably putting 8 to 10 in a club these days.
It just seems like you could do that at home, just doing laundry. Just go up and down your stairs. Like, it's more fun when you're at your place. So where do you see the company in 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, so we're at 18 million members. We got the 2,400 stores open. We have a domestic potential for 4,000 here in the U.S. We're in 4 foreign countries today, and we'll plan on adding 1 or 2 more countries each year to that portfolio. We're having a new study done on the 4,000 domestically. Back to the new trends and the Gen Z did join trajectory is much faster than millennials as far as percentage working out.
Yeah.
Even today, we have as Gen Zs, we're right now almost at 10% of every Gen Z in the country is a paying member. So 1 in 10. It's pretty crazy. That's
really high.
Yeah, and it's only going one direction. So that's great news.
What do you attribute that to? Is it the cool factor? I mean, our favorite color here is purple, but is it the price point? Is it?
I think it's the combination of all. I think it's the price point. I think coming out of COVID, people's health and mental health are important. Yeah. I think even Gen Zs are seeing that more so. I think that's a big trend. As much as I think social media is bad in a lot of ways, but I do think it definitely has a lot of exposure. I mean, it teaches people to work out. Like even talk about this high school summer pass program we did. We had 3 million teens. These teens come in, Dean, with like their exercise form is like perfect. And I knew when I was in high school, my form, me and my buddies working out, we had the worst form ever. But the only way I could learn to work out was Muscle and Fitness magazine. There was no source.
No, it was bad. A lot of that was bad advice. You hurt yourself.
Yeah, but there was no source, right? There was no internet. There was no, and I wasn't going to hide the money to pay a trainer. So I think, a lot of ways there's so much exercise content online that people are exposed to it and know how to keep their exercises more entertaining and more fun. And that's
that was actually where I was. Yeah, that's where I was going. You see coaching, teams, classes. You see that growing. I know you guys aren't big on classes, so.
I think nowadays people are doing it on their own. They're following routines on their phone. Their phone is in the gym, propped against the wall, and they're following exercises. That way, they don't have to come in at exactly 5 o'clock when the class starts. They can come in at 5:05 and do their own thing at their own time. So I think it's more self-taught. I think going forward.
So going from 4,000 to, let's call it, or getting to 4,000, stateside, and maybe 5, 6, 7. Globally over the next, whatever you call it, 5, 6 years, something. As a public company, you busted out way before you went public in 2003. You pretty much said, hey, let's do the franchising model. Is everything from now on franchise?
No, we have about 240 corporate stores, so about 10%. We plan on staying about 10% of the system in corporate locations. It gives us a really good perspective of the trials and tribulations of running a store, through ourselves, from operations to cleaning to construction to wages and how to deal with all of it. So it gives us a good perspective. We try a lot of new things that work and some that don't work, and that's how we then show the franchisees that we should do things this way now. So it's it's a good test bed for us, kind of test kitchen, if you will. So we'll continue to build out our corporate store fleet and keep about 10% of the systems.
And do you have someone that kind of works on that, on the innovation side, that just focuses on, hey, how can we lead this market better?
Yeah. We have a president of corporate stores, and she just runs corporate stores. And then we have people that pay attention and watch a lot of trends. We capture a lot of data, right? So we, because of a membership model, we know where you check in, we know how long you're there, we know, age, we know your gender, we know equipment's being used. That's how we knew the cardio was coming down, but the equipment check-ins were going up. So we test a lot of things. Always just watch trends, just for that reason.
Yeah. What's the biggest challenge being a CEO these days?
I'd say coming off of COVID is probably getting used to the work from home. I've always been a hands-on guy. And
looks like you're in the office there.
I am, of course. So, but
back to work.
A lot of the offices working from home is you just have to kind of retool how to work around that and work with that. So I think that's probably been a challenge here. Being publicly traded is another dynamic there. Although I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the shareholders. I've enjoyed
it's tough
to grow, and they ask good questions, and sometimes they have some good ideas. So it's I don't mind the challenge. I like it.
But sometimes being public and growing at the same time, high growth, it doesn't always balance out. Whereas if you're owned by private equity, so there's some benefits of kind of being below the noise level and out competing people, and you've got to disclose a lot of stuff. Being public. Yeah. Does it slow you down a little bit?
Sometimes it makes the decision process a lot harder, because you make sure you meet earnings, and you'd like to spend money here, you probably can't, you shouldn't, and even though it might be good for the business for the short term, for the long term, it's maybe short term doesn't look as right, but we were private equity owned too, and we were private equity owned until we went public, and they were great partners. I lucked out and chose the right ones, and
you lucked out. You had a great group. Yeah,
they were really well for us. So no complaints there. And honestly, if we weren't private equity owned first, there's no way I would have been. I hate to say the word polished because I'm still learning, but I don't think I would have been half as polished going public as a public company CEO if I didn't have private equity to help teach me some of the. Like I said, I dropped out of college, so
you'd still be teaching classes on the side, probably, which isn't a bad thing. Stay close to the business. Chris, what kind of challenges have you had personally in rebooting your own career? You're one of the rarest people that we've had a few on the show. Even John Chambers, who was just on, was at Cisco forever, but he didn't start there. You started here as a child. Let's just call it that. At the front desk. But what have been some of your personal challenges that people can maybe learn from?
Yeah, I think definitely got to, you got to make mistakes. You got to keep up and keep charging forward and learn from them. I think hiring good people around you to do stuff that you're not good at. Having a good management team that has your back so you can make the most of your job has been clutch for me. I was always a funny story back to the private equity. You guys, when they come in here and start talking about kegger, I said, "What is kegger?" Is that's like a party I went to in college.
It's a beer keg.
It's a kegger. I'm talking about EBITDA. I thought they were vowels. I was like, "Wait, what does that mean?" But so I think it's we have to stay focused on what we're good at and really pay attention to who our customers are. Staying disciplined, like I said, to the model. It's always easy to get persuaded by the industry and follow the industry. So that's been that's been hard to stay disciplined there, which is something we've been good at, luckily, and stay there. But I think the challenge is probably staying focused on the business and make sure we don't over tweak it with trends that aren't conducive to our customer.
Yeah, I could see you jumping on every fad and falling flat and being left on the dustbin of irrelevance, obscurity, and decline. But you just said something there's it's like being focused on the things I'm good at. I, as a serial CEO, I've always struggled with that because I want to do more. I want to help. I want to be involved. How do you just focus on the things you're really excelling at and you're good at?
I let my team tell me to get away. No, just kidding.
That's good. That's a better answer. Most people say, I know how to delegate. I'm like, well, so do I, but I don't.
I like to market. Again, my goal is to get more people off the couch. So I work with my chief brand officer and figure out
So
the right
that's
message.
passion. You're very
Yeah, I
passionate.
love
Yeah.
that. That's
Critical.
it's
Yep.
great to come to work these days, and that's all I really focus on is getting people off the couch. Making them healthy. I always say, like, I'm fortunate enough to not be in a fast food burger chain or changing oil for a living, and I wouldn't have that much passion for that as opposed to making people healthy. So it's a good way to come to work, and I have franchisees, which is also really cool. So I always say I have two sets of customers. One I provide wealth, and one I provide health. So it's another great way to come to work every day. But I think it's staying focused and make sure people around you that are better than you at certain things that you need them for.
I love it. It's great. Thanks, Chris. We enjoyed having you on. Great company. Really like what you're doing.
Pleasure. Anytime. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Chris Rondeau. He is the CEO of Planet Fitness. This is Dean DeBiase with the Reboot Chronicles. I want to thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.